On the surface, the college campus appeared serene, with its tree-lined paths and bustling study halls. But beneath this ordinary facade, tensions brewed, especially when night fell. The infamous Steel Vipers biker gang had taken to loitering in the student parking lot, their roaring engines and crude laughter creating an undercurrent of unease. It was during one of these nights that Owen Lee, a quiet and shy freshman, hurried across the lot after a late-night study session at the library. His backpack slung over one shoulder, Owen kept his head down, hoping to pass unnoticed. But fate had other plans. "Hey kid," the voice boomed across the lot, stopping Owen in his tracks. Tyson Grizz Blake, a towering enforcer of the gang with arms like tree trunks, stepped into his path. "Where you rushing off to? Don't you want to hang out?" Owen's heart raced as he tried to muster a response. I have to go," he stammered, clutching his bag tighter. Grizz grinned, a predatory glint in his eyes. "What's the hurry? We're just being friendly." Before Owen could react, another biker snatched his backpack, tossing it between the gang members like a twisted game of keep away. Owen's protests were drowned out by their jeers. From the shadows near the gym, Noah Cross watched the scene unfold. Noah, a transfer student with a mysterious past, wasn't your average college attendee. A former Marine with black belts in both karate and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, Noah had faced far worse threats than this gang of bikers. His sharp eyes assessed the situation, his instincts kicking in. Enough," Noah said, his voice calm yet commanding as he stepped into the light. The bikers turned to face him, their laughter fading. Grizz, towering over most men, squinted at Noah. "And who the hell are you?" Noah's athletic build and steady demeanor made it clear he wasn't someone to be trifled with. "Just returning the bag," he replied, gesturing toward Owen's backpack now lying on the ground. Vic Iron Heron, the gang's leader, stepped forward. His leather jacket bore the Steel Vipers emblem, a coiled snake encircling a steel fist. His smirk was menacing. "You think you can play hero?" he sneered. Noah didn't flinch. "Walk away," he said simply. The gang hesitated for a moment, but Vic's pride wouldn't let him back down. He lunged at Noah, throwing a punch aimed at his face. Noah sidestepped effortlessly, countering with a wrist lock that sent Vic to the ground with a howl. In the blink of an eye, Noah swept Vic's legs out from under him, leaving the gang leader sprawled on the pavement. Grizz roared in anger and charged with a heavy chain, but Noah moved like a shadow, dodging the swing and delivering a swift kick to Grizz's knee, sending him crashing to the ground. The remaining bikers faltered, exchanging nervous glances. Vic, red-faced and clutching his wrist, scrambled to his feet. "This isn't over," he spat, motioning for his crew to retreat. The sound of revving engines echoed as the gang sped away. Noah turned to Owen, who stood frozen, his face pale. "You okay?" Noah asked, handing him the backpack. Owen nodded, his voice trembling. "Thank you, I didn't know what to do." "Stick to well-lit areas," Noah advised, "and don't walk alone." Owen hesitated before replying, "They'll come back. Campus security doesn't care. They won't do anything." Noah sighed. He knew Owen was right. The Steel Vipers thrived on fear and exploited weakness. "Then we'll handle it another way," Noah said, his tone resolute. By the next morning, the campus was abuzz. A student named Connor Dre had captured the entire confrontation on video, and it had gone viral. Noah's calm demeanor and skillful takedown of the gang left viewers in awe. Comments poured in. "Who is this guy? Absolute legend. Finally, someone stood up to them." But not all the attention was welcome. The video painted a target on Noah's back. At a rundown warehouse on the outskirts of town, Vic paced furiously, replaying the events in his mind. "He's just one guy," Grizz said, wincing as he rubbed his knee. "We can take him." "Not like last time," Vic snapped. "We underestimated him. Next time, we're ready." Back on campus, Noah kept a low profile, avoiding the sudden attention. but his military training told him to prepare for retaliation. He spent his free time scouting the campus, noting choke points and escape routes. Meanwhile, Connor reveled in his newfound popularity. "You're famous," Connor exclaimed, catching up to Noah. "Everyone's talking about the video." "Take it down," Noah said flatly. Connor blinked. "Why? People love it." "This isn't a game," Noah replied. "You've made this personal for them. Now they're coming back, and it won't just be me they go after." Connor's enthusiasm faltered. "I didn't think of that." "Think about it now," Noah said, walking away. That evening, Noah's instincts proved correct. The Steel Vipers returned, their bikes rumbling like thunder. Students scattered as the gang dismounted, their eyes scanning the crowd. Vic spotted Owen and smirked. "Didn't learn your lesson, huh?" he said, stalking toward him. Before Owen could respond, Noah stepped in. "Leave him alone." Vic's grin widened. "You again? You've got a death wish." "No," Noah said, his tone ice cold. "Just unfinished business." This time, the bikers came prepared. Grizz and another member charged simultaneously, but Noah was faster. He sidestepped one, using the other's momentum to flip him onto the ground. Vic pulled a knife, slashing wildly. Noah evaded each strike with precision, disarming Vic in a swift motion that sent the blade skittering across the pavement. The sound of sirens cut through the chaos. Campus security arrived, their lights illuminating the scene. The gang hesitated before Vic growled, "This isn't over," and retreated with his crew. Owen approached cautiously, his voice thick with emotion. "You didn't have to do that, but thank you." Noah nodded, his gaze distant. "No one should have to face this alone." The campus began organizing self-defense workshops, and Noah reluctantly agreed to lead them. Inspired by Noah's courage, Owen joined the sessions, slowly building his confidence. But Noah knew the Steel Vipers weren't finished. Their bruised egos and thirst for revenge would bring them back, and next time, they wouldn't play by any rules. Noah's days fell into a new rhythm. The campus, though buzzing with stories of his bravery, still carried a subtle tension. Students whispered his name in admiration, but fear of the Steel Vipers loomed large. For Owen, however, life had taken a dramatic turn. He attended every self-defense session Noah held, growing more confident and forming a bond with the man who had saved him. One afternoon, after a session had wrapped up, Owen lingered behind. "Noah," he began hesitantly, "I've been thinking. The Vipers aren't just a campus problem. I've heard they've been causing trouble in town, too." Noah, toweling off after the workout, looked up. "What kind of trouble?" "There's this diner near my apartment," Owen explained. "The owner, Mrs. Harper, mentioned they've been harassing her for weeks. They show up late at night, eat without paying, and scare off other customers." Noah's jaw tightened. His sense of justice flared, but he knew stepping into this would make things even more complicated. "Why didn't she go to the police?" he asked. "She did," Owen replied. "They came by once, but the Vipers were gone by then. She said the officers told her to install cameras and left it at that." Noah nodded, his mind already working through the implications. The Steel Vipers weren't just a gang of bullies. They were systematic in how they exerted control. This wasn't just about campus intimidation anymore. It was about a community under siege. That evening, Noah found himself at Harper's Diner. The place was small but inviting, with checkered floors and the smell of fresh coffee wafting through the air. Mrs. Harper, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, greeted him warmly. "Are you the young man Owen mentioned?" she asked. Noah nodded. "Just here to understand what's going on." Her expression darkened. "They've been coming around for weeks, usually late at night. At first, they were just loud, but then they started demanding free meals. Last week, one of them smashed a plate just because the coffee wasn't hot enough." "Have they ever threatened you directly?" Noah asked. She hesitated. "Not in so many words, but it's implied. They know I'm here alone most nights. And if they're not scaring off my customers, they're vandalizing the parking lot." Noah's fists clenched. This was bigger than he'd thought. "I'll see what I can do," he said. That night, Noah parked his car across the street from the diner and waited. Sure enough, just past 11 p.m., the familiar rumble of motorcycles shattered the quiet. Vic and his crew rolled into the lot like they owned it. They laughed and jeered as they dismounted, their swagger filling the empty space. From his vantage point, Noah observed them carefully. They weren't just a group of unruly bikers. They moved with the coordination of a pack, each member playing a specific role. Vic led, of course, his presence commanding. Grizz was the enforcer, the muscle. The others seemed to take cues from these two, following their lead. As they entered the diner, Noah slipped out of his car and approached the building. Through the window, he saw Mrs. Harper standing behind the counter, visibly tense, as the gang sprawled across the booths. "A coffee, hot this time," Vic barked, slamming a fist on the counter. "And don't forget the pie." Mrs. Harper nodded quickly, avoiding eye contact as she hurried to fulfill the order. The gang's laughter echoed through the small space, a chilling reminder of their unchecked power. Noah waited until the situation escalated, when one of the bikers knocked over a stack of plates, sending them shattering to the floor. He stepped inside. "That's enough," he said, his voice cutting through the noise like a blade. The room fell silent. Vic turned, a slow smirk spreading across his face. Well, if it isn't the campus hero, decided to play diner security now? Noah didn't rise to the bait. "You've had your fun, time to leave." Vic leaned back in his seat, feigning indifference. "And what if we don't? What are you gonna do, tough guy? Call the cops?" "No," Noah said evenly. "I'll handle it myself." Riz stood, cracking his knuckles. "Big words for one man." "I've heard that before," Noah replied. The tension in the room was palpable. Noah's calm demeanor only fueled the gang's irritation. Vic finally stood, motioning for his crew to back off. "Not here," he said. "I'm not giving this old lady an excuse to call the cops. But this isn't over." The gang filed out, their departure marked by the roar of engines. Mrs. Harper exhaled shakily. "Thank you," she said, "but you've just made yourself a bigger target." Noah nodded, knowing she was right. The Steel Vipers weren't the kind to back down, and this confrontation would only stoke their anger. The next day, Noah prepared for what he knew was coming. He reached out to Connor, who was still grappling with guilt over the viral video. "I need your help," Noah said. "Anything," Connor replied. Noah explained his plan. They would gather intel on the Vipers' operations. It wasn't enough to defend against them. They needed to understand their movements, alliances, and weaknesses. Connor, armed with his phone and an eye for detail, became Noah's eyes and ears on campus. Meanwhile, Owen stepped up in his own way. He approached students who had been harassed by the gang, encouraging them to share their stories. Together, they compiled a list of incidents that painted a damning picture of the Vipers' behavior. The pieces began to fall into place. Noah discovered that the Steel Vipers were involved in more than petty intimidation. They were running a small but profitable operation out of the warehouse on the edge of town, dealing in stolen goods and illegal street races. This information was enough to bring in law enforcement, but only if they could prove it. However, their company naming pegs proved insufficient, and both men immediately fell in love and saw the world in the distant. The final confrontation came sooner than expected. One evening, as Noah walked Owen back to his dorm, they were ambushed. The Steel Vipers surrounded them, their bikes forming a circle of growling engines and flashing headlights. Vic stepped forward, his smirk replaced by a look of cold determination. "You've been a thorn in my side for too long," he said. "Time to put you in your place." Noah pushed Owen behind him. "You don't want to do this," he warned. Grizz grinned. "Oh, we do." The fight was unlike any Noah had faced before. Outnumbered and cornered, he had to rely on every ounce of his training. The bikers came at him in waves, but Noah's precision and discipline kept him one step ahead. He used their numbers against them, turning their aggression into their downfall. Owen, despite his fear, refused to be a bystander. Remembering the techniques Noah had taught him, he defended himself when one of the bikers lunged at him. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough to hold his ground. Just as the tide seemed to turn against Noah, The sound of sirens pierced the night. Connor had called the police, and their arrival scattered the remaining bikers. Vic, clutching a broken arm, glared at Noah one last time before retreating. In the aftermath, law enforcement raided the warehouse, uncovering evidence that dismantled the Steel Vipers operation. The gang's leaders were arrested, and the campus finally breathed a sigh of relief. Noah, though reluctant to take credit, became a symbol of resilience and courage. The self-defense workshops continued, growing in popularity. Owen emerged as a leader among his peers, his transformation inspiring others to stand up against injustice. For Noah, it wasn't about being a hero, it was about doing what was right, even when it wasn't easy. As he walked across the now peaceful campus, he knew one thing for certain. Strength wasn't just about fighting, it was about protecting what mattered most. And sometimes, it took just one person to remind others that fear only had power if they let it. The takedown of the Steel Vipers sent ripples through the community. Their warehouse operation was dismantled, several members were in custody, and their intimidating presence on campus was no more. Yet for Noah, it wasn't the end. It was a beginning. Victory against the gang had opened a door to something greater, though he didn't yet know what. So, Noah didn't seek fame, but the attention he had drawn was impossible to ignore. Students began approaching him in unexpected places, asking for advice or simply thanking him for what he had done. His once quiet walks across campus were punctuated by requests for guidance or invitations to join student groups. Though he tried to maintain his distance, it became increasingly clear that the campus saw him as more than just a defender. They saw him as a leader. So those were, one crisp fall morning, Noah received a knock on his dorm door. Opening it, he found Owen standing there, his expression uncertain but resolute. "What's up, Owen?" Noah asked, stepping aside to let him in. "I've been thinking," Owen began, wringing his hands. "The self-defense workshops are great, but I don't think they're enough. What happens when someone faces a threat that can't be solved with a wrist lock or a punch?" Noah raised an eyebrow. "Go on." "We need something bigger," Owen continued. "A real support system, something that helps students feel safe, not just physically, but in every way. We could start a student protection group, a network of people looking out for each other." Noah considered the idea. It was ambitious, but it had merit. "And you think we can pull that off?" he asked. "With your experience and the respect people have for you, absolutely," Owen said. "And I want to help. This is important to me." Noah nodded slowly. "All right, let's do it." Over the next few weeks, Owen and Noah worked tirelessly to organize the group, which they called Guardian Collective. Their mission was clear: to create a culture of safety and accountability on campus. They began recruiting members, focusing on individuals from diverse backgrounds, people with unique skills and perspectives that could contribute to the group's success. Among the first to join was Rachel Tan, a tech-savvy junior who had a knack for cybersecurity. "If we're going to keep people safe, we need more than muscles," she said during her first meeting with Noah and Owen. "I can monitor campus networks, set up alerts, and track suspicious activity." Next was Marcus Tank Alvarez, a former high school wrestler who had an imposing presence but a gentle demeanor. "I've always hated bullies," he said simply. "Count me in." The team grew steadily, each new member bringing something valuable to the table. They held training sessions, patrolled the campus in shifts, and established a confidential hotline where students could report concerns. Rachel's technological expertise proved invaluable, allowing the group to map out potential trouble spots and track patterns of incidents. As the Guardian Collective gained momentum, Noah received a message from Connor. It was cryptic but urgent. "Meet me at the East Quad, bring backup." Noah didn't hesitate. He grabbed his phone and called Owen. Together, they headed to the quad, where they found Connor pacing nervously. "What's going on?" Noah asked. Connor glanced around, ensuring they were alone. "I overheard something," he said. "Some of the Steel Vipers who didn't get arrested, they're trying to regroup, and they're not happy about what you did." Noah frowned. "Where did you hear this?" I was at a coffee shop downtown, Connor explained. They were in the booth behind me. I don't think they recognized me, but they were talking about getting even, making an example out of you. Owen's face paled. What should we do? We wait, Noah said, his voice steady. If they're coming, we'll be ready. The Guardian Collective sprang into action. Noah and Rachel worked together to analyze the possible ways the Vipers might strike. Marcus organized physical training for the group, while Owen and Connor focused on outreach, warning students to be cautious. It didn't take long for the Vipers to make their move. Late one night while Noah was walking back from a patrol, he noticed the unmistakable roar of motorcycles in the distance. The sound grew louder, and soon 3 bikes emerged from the darkness, their headlights cutting through the misty air. The riders dismounted, and Noah recognized one of them immediately, Vic. Despite his injured arm, the gang leader's arrogance hadn't diminished. His 2 companions, equally rough-looking men, flanked him. Couldn't stay away, could you? Noah said, his tone calm. We're not here to talk, Vic sneered. You humiliated us, cost us everything. Now we're here to settle the score. Noah's muscles tensed, but he didn't let his composure falter. You should have stayed gone, Vic. The gang charged, but Noah was ready. His training took over, each movement precise and deliberate. He disarmed the first attacker with a fluid motion, sending the man sprawling. The second swung a length of pipe, but Noah ducked and delivered a swift counterstrike to the ribs. Vic, watching his men fall, hesitated before lunging forward, but before he could reach Noah, a voice rang out. Stop. Owen, Marcus, and 2 other members of the Guardian Collective appeared from the shadows, their presence a stark reminder that Noah wasn't alone. Marcus stepped forward, his sheer size enough to give Vic pause. This isn't your fight, Vic growled. It is now, Marcus replied firmly. You're outnumbered. Walk away while you can. Vic glared at the group, his fists clenching and unclenching. After a tense moment, he backed away. You've made a lot of enemies, he said, pointing at Noah. You won't always have your friends around to save you. With that, the Vipers mounted their bikes and roared off into the night. Noah exhaled, his adrenaline slowly subsiding. Thanks for showing up, he said, glancing at Owen and the others. Owen grinned nervously. We're a team, right? We've got your back. In the days that followed, the Guardian Collective solidified its reputation as a force to be reckoned with. Word spread quickly about how they had stood up to the remnants of the Steel Vipers, and their efforts inspired similar initiatives on other campuses. For Noah, the journey had been unexpected. He hadn't come to college looking for a fight or seeking to lead a movement, but life had a way of calling on people to step up when it mattered most. And though the Steel Vipers were gone, Noah knew the world would always have its challenges. But now, he wasn't facing them alone. Together, the Guardian Collective stood as a testament to the power of unity, resilience, and the courage to make a difference. In their hands, the campus, and perhaps the community beyond, would be a safer place for all. The Guardian Collective's success on campus was undeniable. Students felt safer walking at night, incidents of harassment dwindled, and a sense of community grew stronger. But Noah knew that peace was fragile, and the fight for safety was never truly over. He remained vigilant, his military training urging him to prepare for what could come next. What he didn't anticipate, however, was that their next challenge wouldn't come from the Steel Vipers or even an external threat, but from within. The first sign of trouble arrived in the form of an email. Rachel, the group's tech wizard, burst into the collective's meeting room one afternoon, her laptop clutched tightly to her chest. "We have a problem," she announced. Noah looked up from a map he had been studying. "What kind of problem?" Rachel placed her laptop on the table and turned it toward the group. "This," she said, pulling up a forum thread. The screen displayed a series of posts on a private social media platform. The messages were cryptic but ominous. "They're targeting us," Rachel explained, scrolling through the posts. "Someone's trying to discredit the Guardian Collective. They're spreading rumors, saying we're vigilantes, that we're dangerous." Owen frowned, leaning in to read the messages. Who would even do this? The Vipers are gone. Noah's eyes narrowed. Maybe not all of them, or maybe someone else feels threatened by what we've built. Rachel nodded. Whoever it is, they're organized. They've created fake accounts to make it look like multiple people are complaining. And it's working. Some students are starting to question our intentions. The room fell silent. The Guardian Collective had worked hard to build trust, but trust was fragile. A few well-placed lies could undo everything. Test, what's our next move? Marcus asked, his deep voice steady but concerned. We don't play their game, Noah said firmly. If we respond directly, it gives them legitimacy. We stay focused on what we do best, helping people. Actions speak louder than words. Rachel hesitated. That's a good plan, but there's more. I traced some of the accounts to a location off campus, a warehouse on the industrial side of town. Noah's expression hardened. Then we investigate. That evening, Noah and Rachel drove to the warehouse, its address marked on Rachel's laptop. The area was desolate, the buildings weathered and surrounded by chain-link fences. They parked a block away and approached on foot, keeping to the shadows. The warehouse was dimly lit, but inside, figures moved about. Noah counted at least 6 people, their voices echoing faintly. As they crept closer, they could make out snippets of conversation. Enough to shut them down. Can't let them get too powerful. Noah motioned for Rachel to stay back while he moved closer. Through a broken window, he caught sight of a table covered in papers and a computer monitor displaying the same forum Rachel had shown earlier. Among the group was a face Noah recognized. Roy, a former member of the Steel Vipers who had avoided arrest during the gang's downfall. Roy was clearly agitated, gesturing wildly as he spoke. The Guardian Collective made fools of us, and now everyone thinks they're heroes. Well, not for long. One of the others, a wiry man with sharp features, spoke up. Are we sure this will work? What if they find out it's us? They won't, Roy snapped, and even if they do, it won't matter. By the time we're done, they'll be finished. Noah's jaw tightened. It was clear Roy had orchestrated the smear campaign as part of a vendetta against the collective. But what worried Noah more was the organized nature of their operation. This wasn't just petty revenge. It was a calculated attempt to undermine everything the collective had achieved. Noah retreated silently, signaling Rachel to follow him back to the car. Once inside, he turned to her. We need to expose them. Can you get into their system? Rachel grinned, her confidence returning. Already on it. The next day, Rachel worked tirelessly to hack into the accounts Roy's group had used to spread their lies. By evening, she had uncovered a treasure trove of evidence. Messages detailing their plans, connections to the fake accounts, and even video footage of Roy bragging about his scheme. Armed with this information, Noah convened an emergency meeting of the Guardian Collective. This isn't just about us, he said, addressing the group. It's about protecting the trust we've built. If we don't handle this the right way, everything we've worked for could fall apart. What do you propose? Marcus asked. We go public, Noah replied. We show the campus the truth. But we don't just stop there. We make it clear that anyone who tries to spread fear and lies will be held accountable. The group agreed, and the next day they released the evidence. Rachel's video edit was precise and compelling, laying out the facts in a way that was impossible to ignore. Within hours, the campus was buzzing. Students who had doubted the collective now rallied to their side, their anger directed at Roy and his co-conspirators. As the backlash against Roy's group grew, Noah received an unexpected visitor at the collective's headquarters. It was Dean Crawford, the university's head administrator. A stern but fair man, the dean had been supportive of the Guardian Collective, but cautious about endorsing their actions publicly. I've seen the video, Dean Crawford said, folding his hands on the table as he sat across from Noah. What you've done here is impressive, but it raises questions. What kind of questions? Noah asked. The kind that make the university nervous, the dean admitted. We can't officially sanction your group without oversight, but I also can't deny the positive impact you've had, so I'm offering a compromise. The compromise, as it turned out, was an official partnership between the Guardian Collective and the university. The group would gain access to more resources, including funding and training opportunities, but they would also have to operate under the university's rules. Noah hesitated. He valued the collective's independence and worried that bureaucracy could hinder their work, but Owen, ever the optimist, saw the potential. "This could be huge," Owen said after the meeting. "With the university's backing, we could do so much more." In the end, Noah agreed to the partnership, but with one condition: the collective would retain control over its mission and methods. Dean Crawford, to Noah's surprise, agreed. With their newfound legitimacy, the Guardian Collective expanded its reach. They established partnerships with local organizations, offering workshops not just on self-defense but also on conflict resolution and community building. Rachel developed an app that allowed students to report concerns anonymously, while Marcus and Owen led outreach programs to connect with vulnerable students. But the collective's greatest triumph came when they organized a campus-wide event called Unity Night. Part rally, part festival, the event brought together students, faculty, and community members to celebrate resilience and solidarity. Noah, who had always preferred to speak out of the spotlight, was persuaded to speak. As he stood on the stage looking out at the crowd, he felt a surge of pride. "When we started this," he began, "it wasn't about being heroes. It was about standing up for what's right, about proving that, together, we're stronger than fear. And tonight, looking at all of you, I know we've done that." The applause that followed was thunderous. For Noah, the journey had been unexpected and, at times, overwhelming. But as he walked through the now vibrant campus, he knew it had been worth it. The Guardian Collective wasn't just a group, it was a movement, one that would outlast him and continue to inspire others. And while new challenges would inevitably arise, Noah was ready, because if there was one thing he had learned, it was this: courage wasn't the absence of fear, it was the determination to face it, no matter the odds. As the Guardian Collective settled into its new role as an officially recognized campus organization, its members found themselves juggling both old challenges and new opportunities. While their efforts had fostered a safer and more unified environment, the team knew complacency wasn't an option. Noah, in particular, remained on high alert, always wary of the next threat that could arise. But what none of them expected was that the next hurdle wouldn't involve violence, intimidation, or sabotage. It would challenge the very foundation of their mission. The shift began with a surprising phone call. Rachel answered it during a routine meeting, her eyes widening as she scribbled down notes. "That was someone from Lakewood University," she said, her voice tinged with both excitement and concern as she hung up. "They've heard about us. They want to start their own version of the Guardian Collective and want our help setting it up." The room buzzed with energy as everyone began to weigh in. "That's amazing," Owen said, leaning forward in his seat. "If other schools adopt what we're doing, think of how many people we could help." Marcus nodded, but added cautiously, "It's a big responsibility. If something goes wrong, it could reflect on us." Rachel agreed. "They'll need training, resources, and a framework. We can't just give them our name and hope for the best." Noah stayed quiet, deep in thought. Expanding their model to other campuses was an incredible opportunity, but it was also risky. They had built the Guardian Collective on trust, adaptability, and an intimate understanding of their campus's unique dynamics. Replicating that elsewhere wouldn't be easy. Finally, he spoke. "We'll help them, but we need to be strategic. Let's send a team to Lakewood to assess their situation first. If they're serious, we'll guide them." Noah, Rachel, and Owen traveled to Lakewood the following weekend, where they met with a group of students eager to create their own version of the Guardian Collective. The enthusiasm was infectious, but it quickly became clear that the challenges at Lakewood were different from those they had faced. Lakewood's issues were rooted in social divisions. There had been incidents of discrimination, exclusion, and cyberbullying that had left the student body fractured. The students they met were passionate but inexperienced. This is going to take time, Rachel whispered to Noah after their first meeting with Lakewood's leaders. They're enthusiastic, but they're not ready. Noah nodded. They don't need to be ready right now. They just need guidance. Over the next few days, the team worked closely with Lakewood students, sharing their experiences and helping them draft a plan tailored to their campus. Rachel conducted workshops on digital safety, while Owen led sessions on communication and conflict resolution. Noah focused on leadership training, emphasizing the importance of trust and accountability. By the end of their visit, the seeds of a new Guardian collective were planted. As they said their goodbyes, one of the Lakewood leaders, a senior named Maya, expressed her gratitude. "You've given us more than advice," she said. "You've given us hope." Back at their own campus, the Guardian Collective's influence continued to grow. The partnership with the university brought challenges of its own, more meetings, paperwork, and bureaucracy than anyone had anticipated. But it also opened doors. Local businesses began reaching out, offering sponsorships and donations to support their work. Faculty members volunteered their expertise, from teaching de-escalation techniques to providing insights into psychology and group dynamics. One such faculty member was Dr. Eleanor Marks, a sociology professor who had been following the collective's progress with keen interest. She approached Noah after a self-defense workshop, her curiosity evident. "What you've built here is remarkable," she said, "but I wonder if you've considered the long-term impact of what you're doing." Noah tilted his head. Marks smiled. "Right now, you're responding to immediate needs, defending against threats, addressing safety concerns, but true change comes from shifting culture. Have you thought about how to make this permanent, something that lasts beyond you?" Her words stuck with Noah long after their conversation ended. He shared them with the team during their next meeting, and they sparked a new wave of ideas. "We've focused so much on responding to problems," Owen said, "but what if we worked on prevention too, like education programs for high schools or mentoring younger students?" Rachel added, "We could develop resources that people can access anywhere, guides, videos, even a podcast." The collective began laying the groundwork for these initiatives, expanding their vision beyond their campus. It wasn't just about creating a safer community anymore. It was about inspiring others to do the same. Months later, at the annual campus awards ceremony, the Guardian Collective was honored with the University Service Award for their contributions to student safety and community building. The recognition was bittersweet for Noah, who had never sought the spotlight. As he accepted the award on behalf of the group, he looked out at the audience, a sea of students, faculty, and community members who had all played a role in the journey. "This isn't just about us," Noah said, his voice steady but full of emotion. "The Guardian Collective isn't a group, it's an idea. It's the belief that we're stronger when we stand together, that no one should face their challenges alone. This award belongs to all of you, because you've proven that when we act with courage and compassion, we can create something truly extraordinary." The applause was deafening, but Noah's thoughts were already elsewhere. He wasn't thinking about the past or even the present. He was thinking about what came next, about the communities still in need, the students still searching for safety, and the endless potential of what the Guardian Collective could become. Because for Noah, the fight for justice and safety was never truly over. It was a journey, one that demanded constant vigilance, relentless effort, and an unwavering belief in the power of unity. And as long as he had people like Rachel, Owen, Marcus, and the countless others who had joined their cause, he knew they were ready for whatever came next. Enjoyed this story? Watch the next video for another great one, and be sure to subscribe for more exciting tales.